Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Welcome back to the second hour of this Wednesday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. This is Wednesday, right? Today is Wednesday. That is correct. Now, I want to start this hour by just revisiting a story that we touched on briefly where Nancy Pelosi is going to receive an award from Planned Parenthood, the Margaret Sanger Award, which is their most prestigious award. Now, it's interesting that, and we talked about this yesterday, that Margaret Sanger spoke at least one KKK event and was invited to many others. She was a eugenicist. She believed in kind of sterilizing what she considered the unfit, by which she largely meant minorities, in involuntary sterilization, which is almost exclusively done on minorities. That was a Margaret Sanger idea. She believed that black children were like noxious weeds that needed to be exterminated. She says, we can't tell people that. That's why we're going to enlist black clergy. We're going to get black clergy involved in this because we can hide behind them. The black people that go to their churches will trust what the clergy is telling them. If the clergy tells them it's okay, then they will believe it, and we can exterminate the Negro population without telling anybody that's what we're doing. Now, Margaret Sanger, and Nancy Pelosi is going to get this award tomorrow night. Margaret Sanger, Planned Parenthood traces its roots back to 1916. Margaret Sanger opened a birth control office in Brooklyn, New York in 1922. She incorporated it, and by 1942, they combined it with a couple of other organizations, and it became Planned Parenthood Federation of America. So it goes back to 1916. So they're coming up on the 100th anniversary of Planned Parenthood in 2016. Be great if that organization was not around to celebrate its 100th anniversary. Now, Margaret Sanger wrote a book in 1920. This is now 4 years after this organization started. And the title of the book was Woman and the New Race. And she had a chapter that was entitled The Wickedness of Creating Large Families. And she talked about and wickedness is her word. I mean, that's the title of the chapter. Large families are wicked because they exhaust the mother, they harm her health, they make their fathers work incessantly to support this growing family. They lower the cost of labor because you got too many workers out there competing for the jobs. It's a basic cause of war because there are so many people competing for fewer resources. So large families, she says, are wicked. Now you contrast that with a biblical view. Remember what God said in Genesis chapter 1 to the male and female he created. What did he say? Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. So you got two competing views and visions of the family right there. Margaret Sanger, large families are wicked. God says, go forth and multiply and fill the earth. And we're a long way from doing that. We haven't come anywhere near fulfilling that cultural mandate. Now, because of that, Margaret Sanger said the most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. So Margaret Sanger, Nancy Pelosi is going to get an award named after her. She said, 1920, after she started what became Planned Parenthood, the most merciful thing a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. The status, she says the status of infanticide, again quoting Margaret Sanger, the status of infanticide, that is, if a baby's born, you just kill it, is an established, legalized custom in Greece, is well summed up by Finnish philosopher Edward Westermark, who says the exposure of deformed or sickly infants was undoubtedly an ancient custom in Greece. And you've got this bioethicist, Peter Singer, at Princeton, says we ought to do the same thing. We ought to give parents a month to decide whether their baby should be allowed to live. And if they think it's deformed or whatever reason, they can kill it up to a month after it is born. So this is not just ancient Greece. You got people today arguing for the same thing at Princeton, an Ivy League school. It was also approved by the most enlightened among the Greek philosophers. Plato condemns all those children who are imperfect in limbs, as well as those who are born of depraved citizens. Aristotle, who was taught by Plato, believed that the state should fix the number of children each married pair should have. I mean, that just sounds just like communist China. I mean, they've decided it's one. Aristotle says, well, whatever the state wants to do, they can do it, but they got a right to decide how large families can be. Margaret Sanger goes on, with respect to the exposing and nurturing of children, let it be a law that nothing she's continuing to quote Aristotle, let it be a law that nothing mutilated shall be nurtured. So you got a baby with a birth defect, kill it. And in order to avoid having too great a number of children, if it be not permitted by the laws of the country to expose them, it is then requisite to define how many a man may have, and if any have more than the prescribed number, some means must be adopted that the fruit be destroyed in the womb of the mother before sense and life are generated in it. So Aristotle says, look, if you got the laws in the country and they say you can't kill infants, then you got to find a way to abort them before they ever get born in the first place. Well, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Tabitha in Woodland, Texas. Tabitha, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hello, Brian. I was calling because I am one of the few tomboys that were in the world before I got started with my family. So I'm calling to kind of give some feedback. I thought that I was a tomboy all my life, and, I was a bodybuilder, got my pro card, and just played basketball, wanted to play football. My mom wouldn't let me, but you know what? I just had twin girls. They're 8 months old. My husband and I are just gradually just going into the natural. I'm the mommy. I take care of the mommy things. I haven't touched a rake. It's just I don't know. I was so brainwashed into thinking that I can be something else,
Yeah. Now, do you think that's what it was? That you sort of embraced kind of an indoctrination or a view of what a woman ought to be or should be?
I think so, Brian. I think that basically I had good intentions. I thought, oh yeah, I'm this way. I'm strong. I can defeat all things, and of course I have my limitations, but.
Now, let me ask you this. I've got just about 45 seconds left, and I want to see if you can answer this question. What changed your mind, kind of reoriented you toward a more feminine version, a more maternal version of your femininity?
I'm going to tell you that it had to be the pregnancy, the way my husband changed, the way I changed, when I realized, oh, yeah, I'm a woman, this is the way my body's designed. When the babies came out, I nursed my girls. I have twin girls, and I nursed them. And it's only by the Spirit of Yahweh that I have no idea where that milk comes from, but it comes.
It's amazing thing, isn't it?
And it's because he designed me that way. My husband can't do that, and it's like we talk about it every day. He has his role that he does, and he provides for us and everything, and.
Well, isn't it satisfying, Tabitha, when you feel like you are cooperating with God's plan for your humanity? All right, Tabitha, great call. Thank you for that. We'll be right back with Alveda King, niece of Martin Luther King Jr. Stay with us.